Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Big Daddy Kane in the house.
The paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers, scum, criminal giant death factors, keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They're gonna crawl out from under rocks. They're green in the skin, and they run around screaming, "We love Satan, we wanna eat babies." I have them on video.
Hillary's into creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with a creepy, weird old woman whose woman was a hood over her head. Her head. Number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. When Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur.
Little old vampire belly goblin. Little old vampire belly goblins. Hobbling around looking after us. Here it gets close to the evil and I feel it go.
We're such self-centered crap. We don't even see ourselves rising up against us. Millions of poor people of the very worst kind. Man, I'm so sick. Pissed, not sick, pissed. You're not at the mall. Oh.
You're gonna stab your wife, your son. Oh. We're gonna stab her with a butcher knife.
It's gonna sing. We love our Somalis. We love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so sweet. Yo, welcome. It's about that time. Kicking it off with a little bit of peak male performance, as the audience has noted. Let's get into it. We don't have a lot of time. I want to pick back up with part 2, because I didn't get to this one yesterday. Ruslan discussing why he's not Catholic or Orthodox. Let's get into this, and let's hear what he argues here.
Catholic versus Orthodox. I'll be honest with you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, big shocker. I am neither. They start a conversation and the girl asks the guy, "What religion are you?" He replies, "Christian." She says, "Me too." That conversation has likely happened millions of times, since there are about 2.6 billion Christians on the planet. On top of that, the Center for the Study of Global Christianity said in 2021 that around the world there's something like 45,000 Christian denominations. Throughout history, there have been splits and more splits. Essentials. Yeah, they agree on the essentials.
First of all, that's not true. 300 denominations. And he gets this because he says that, well, there's only 300 because 300 agree on the core essentials. What are the core essentials? No Protestant can tell you exactly what the core essentials are. The closest thing to this is the determination coming out of the 1920s, 30s, 40s of what was called fundamentalism. And this was anybody who believed in the 5 so-called fundamentals. But how do we know that those are the 5 so-called fundamentals? We could easily come up with doctrines intimately connected to the so-called 5 fundamentals that are also fundamental. For example, you have to believe in, quote, the deity of Christ. Okay, but a lot of people in the early church affirmed the deity of Christ, but didn't affirm his full humanity. Apollinarianism. William Lane Craig is an Apollinarian to this day. So that's an essential. But there's no, I guarantee Ruslan doesn't even know what Apollinarianism is. So there's no adjudicating between the essentials and the non-essentials here to make this broad statement that, well, actually there's only about 300 denominations. Again, not true, but even if there were only 300, like, still, it is an indicator that the infinite splitting and schisms is some kind of manifestation of a problem in the West.
Judas Iscariot giving his buddy away in the Garden of Gethsemane. What we mean is the church. Basic until the 11th century. That's when things really got heated. All you need to know is that Christianity spread over. The guy, the Pope, was in Rome. So the Roman.
So is Ruslan's video, like, I've never watched this guy. Are they all just him playing like 20 minutes of somebody else and going, and sipping out of his Yeti coffee mug or something? I mean, what does he know anything about these topics, or just talk to people who know about these topics? I'm not trying to be mean. I honestly don't know.
Empire fell 476 AD, but this video is saying that the
Christianity became a staple. It's like Christianity became legalized and then became the religion of the Roman Empire, and then 100 years later, Rome fell.
So let me tell you 3 reasons why these are so amazing. First off, this is the always pan, my favorite. This is a 10
In general, one could say Rome was recognized, yes, but what primacy meant and in what context differed. The reality is far more complex than simple yes or no. First, because there was not a single Eastern church either before the Great Schism. And what do you mean not a single Eastern church? Oh, okay, well, because they hadn't broken off yet before the Great Schism. Also because how the primacy of Rome was understood in the context of other bishops and other patriarchs, including
Pentarchy,
buried among different churches, both East and West, and changed and developed among them, even with Rome's own view. Very briefly, it is clear early church history within a generation or two that Rome has some kind.
So what, he's on Reddit reading the professor of ecumenism in an interreligious dialogue named Andrew Boyd. Is it so? This is his answer, is to lifetime read Reddit articles from so-called professors. Is this what people think scholarship, academia is? I mean, I'm not saying that he claims to be an academic, but like, is that what he does on his channel? Is this what you guys think is how how this works? Like, you just read Reddit posts from supposed professors, and that's how you reply to? I mean, this is like, I mean, if people think this is how you go about solving these questions, I mean, I can't help you, man. There's like, this is, if you think this, I'm not talking about calling him as a person into question. This is just the most just weak approach to, I mean, you're not going to get answers to these questions on Reddit posts from professors. This is, again, worse than I expected.
Primacy in other local churches. First in charity and honor is one of the first expressions, circa 100. Apostolics C in general were apostolic.
By the way, I agree with this point here. So it's not that the point itself is a problem. It's just that going to Reddit posts from ecumenist professors, I mean,
C's in
I'm just baffled that anyone thinks that this is like, this guy has 237,000 subscribers.
Or more important in this period, as were larger, wealthier, and naturally more influential churches. Rome was one of them, right? Rome was a prosperous church, primarily because Constantine came to faith, who was the emperor. Additionally, the particular apostles associated with Rome were the big two, Peter and Paul. Nobody questioned Peter's primacy among the 12 or Paul's primacy as a post-resurrection apostle. On the other hand, a lot of early modern-day attempts to read supremacy or jurisdiction into the primacy of the first few centuries are exaggerated. You see that? Basically, they're saying that, yes, Rome had some degree of influence because it was a prosperous church. However,
so I agree with this point. It's just like, how does he think that this is like a gotcha or aha? Ooh, got you. I tricked you on that one. By just reading a post from a professor of ecumenism. By the way, what is a professor of ecumenism? I mean, how is that even a discipline? That's like a movement funded by, NGOs. And so I'm the professor of a movement funded by NGOs. Professor of ecumenism? That's not even a thing. So, but again, even though the point is true, if this is what you guys think is like how you're going to rely on solid argumentation, I saw he just posted a video too of like proving resurrection from archaeology. Sorry, how is archaeology going to prove the resurrection? This is just bizarre to me.
This is being read into their supremacy after the fact.
I agree with that.
By doctrines like papal infallibility. The Pope is infallible. There's nothing like the exercise of authority witnessed even in the 5th, 10th, 15th, or 20th century present in the 1st or 2nd. In each of those moments, different from each other. So it sounds like Rome had a distinct relationship as a church with the other churches, but they did not view the Pope as infallible in the way that Catholics view the Pope as infallible today, which papal infallibility.
Yeah, and that's what the Alexandria document admits. We just covered this multiple times, multiple podcasts. Me and David and Sneck a few months ago, we covered the Alexandria document, which follows upon the Chieti document. Again, Roman Catholics never even read this stuff. We brought it up countless times. They just ignore it. So
didn't come to be a doctrine, I want to say, until the Council of Trent, or I want to say it was around.
No. Okay. Papal infallibility did not become a doctrine at the Council of Trent, so doesn't even know basic church history.
1700. It was in response to the Reformation. They started viewing the Pope as infallible in response to Luther, not pre-Luther, which is a huge distinction.
Well, I mean, there were pre-Luther claims of papal supremacy in Unum Sanctum of Boniface VIII. So, again, basic misunderstandings of basic church history. So, not a good point there.
Right, to say that the Pope's words are infallible in response to Luther, which is 1500. Anyway, sidetrack, go ahead.
To Rome. They were spread over parts of Europe, parts of Asia, parts of Africa, and the Middle East. Those people were part of Eastern Christianity.
But this only refers to geography, not belief.
I mean, why is everybody falling for such low-tier argumentation? I'm just baffled by this. Like, what is the appeal? Or people are making decisions on the basis of bad arguments, and I can't understand it. It's frustrating to me. Like, why people are making bad decisions on the basis of bad argumentation. But something I've noticed that's I guess backs up our approach to epistemic holism, to epistemology in general. People don't believe things purely on the basis of evidences. People have other motivating factors, more often than not, that motivate them to believe this or that, versus believing things on the basis of proofs, rationality, argumentation, and evidence. And it's just, I guess, hammering home to me, which is something that I should know. I should know this as a presuppositionalist, that people will interpret evidences in the way that they want to interpret them. Just like people will interpret a text the way that they want to. We've all experienced this, right? You guys have seen me, many others. We have a debate with somebody. We go to the texts. It's not even I get your point, Rachel, but it's not even a point of smartness. It's not an intelligence point. because highly intelligent people will double down and interpret evidence in an incorrect way to fit the paradigm. So it really just backs up this whole point of presuppositionalism. And that's the whole point of Volume 3. Well, it's not the whole point, but one of the key points in the masterpiece of C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy in the 3rd volume, that Mark believes the evidence. He picks and chooses the evidence to support his belief in the Tavistock Institute / NICE organization that he works for, which is really the NWO. He just chooses the pieces of evidence that allow him to believe and soothe his conscience to think, well, we're a benevolent organization. We're working for the good of humanity. Even though there's all this contrary evidence over here that points to this being, Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, dastardly, globalist entity, I'm going to ignore and suppress those evidences and believe and focus on the selective evidences to fit my cognitive bias, my cognitive dissonance. So we have terms like cognitive dissonance and so forth that actually sometimes are used to help explain this. And I'm not saying that as Orthodox you're somehow immune to that. You might have believed orthodoxy, for example, for bad reasons. And if you have bad reasons, let's look at the consequences of bad reasons. Let me see. I hope I have this video still up. We're going to go back to our buddy here in a second, but let's see. I thought I had this Kanye video pulled up. Where'd it go? Anyway, so I don't know where the video is, but Kanye basically has said now, I don't believe Christianity anymore. And I mean, I'm not mad or hurt or anything like that. I kind of expected that this kind of a conversion would be short-lived, not because of any personal issues or whatever. I've never talked to Kanye West or anything like that. But it's very similar to everybody talking about Nala, or whoever this chick is that supposedly is converted. And I don't usually talk about all this stuff because I'm not interested. I mean, everybody wants to talk about everybody's drama, but I don't care if you talk about it. None of that stuff bothers me. But so then it becomes a question of, well, was it a genuine conversion? And time, people say, oh, time will tell. And that's true, time will tell. And I do think that people can go into evangelicalism with sincere conversion. I did many, many years ago in my teens. And so they don't know any better. They don't know what's going on in that world. But the problem is that the Jesus that you get sold in the evangelical world is Jesus' boyfriend Jesus, right? Jesus is my boyfriend. I want to praise you because I don't actually have a boyfriend. But Jesus is my boyfriend in the praise and worships. And I'm crying because I don't know if I'm gay or not. But I also... Right? It's just nonsense. Just trash. It's based on emotions. It's based on show, smoke and mirrors, right? Randy Ball's Circus of Power mega church. And all that does is create atheists because what's presented and offered there is a manufactured Jesus of their own making. Now, the person going into that might sincerely want to know the religion. But they're going to like a fraudulent version, is the point. And that's the danger of the danger of heterodoxy is not so much like every individual a formal heretic within the group of heterodoxy, but rather that you're not going to get the healing that you need. If you don't get the healing, it just ends up being a disaster. And in many of these evangelical conversions and in many of these megachurch type conversions, as we pointed out for many years, the megachurch turnover rate is astronomical. People last in Pew studies, I think, from many years ago, like maybe a few weeks, right? At Joel Ovaltine's church, right, there's a huge turnover rate. Because it's really just a self-help type of, like, Tony Robbins version of, quote, Christianity. That's why Orthodox is very different. It's unique. It's not even like Roman Catholic RCIA, right? Class, typically, it's like 6 months, a year, maybe even 3 years. And that's to make sure that you want to do this, because you might not. And it's better to not go into it than to go into it and then be like, I'm going to back out now that I've done it for a year or something like that, right? So that's the thing with a lot of these mega churches, a lot of these, the whole born again, come down to the altar, Billy Graham, all that stuff is just giving everybody a completely ridiculous, false impression, sales pitch. It's a pseudo-Christianity. And it's a huge source of a lot of the problems that we have. A lot of the atheism, a lot of the hatred and anger at religion comes from a lot of these synthetic evangelical versions of it. And now, unfortunately, the Roman Church, for all of its errors, is becoming more and more like this, like a big synthetic megachurch. You go into a lot of Novus Ordo churches, they don't look very demonstrably, noticeably different than the megachurches. I mean that literally. They look like Protestant megachurches. Many of them. They've removed the Catholic imagery. It looks like a giant lecture hall. And that's because, of course, Vatican II was a Protestantizing of the church. And that's not all like, the trad myth, like, it all begins at Vatican II. No. It goes back a long time. Because the papacy, the 11th century, began to make extraordinary, outrageous, outlandish claims, as even Eastern Catholic scholars admit. Like Dvorak, like the Alexandria document of recent note, and like the Papadakis Meyendorff book has excellently covered of recent note. So be sure and get the Papadakis Meyendorff book if you don't have it. So let's get back to Ruslan and his argumentation. But I wanted to comment on this because it ties into what we saw with what Kanye has been saying and what Nala has been saying. And it's just unfortunate because this is what happens when people want to make a Jesus of their own imagining. Right? I'm going to worship hippie Jesus. I'm going to worship boyfriend Jesus. Buddy Jesus. Like in whatever that movie was. Dogma. Dogma is kind of it's a blasphemous movie. But what's interesting is that George Carlin plays a cardinal at the beginning. And they've come up with this idea to revitalize the Roman Catholic. It's actually making fun of Vatican II. They're going to revitalize the church by promoting everybody buying these little idols. These little, buddy Jesus. Have you guys seen that? I don't even recommend. The movie is very bizarre. It's a weird Gnostic thing. I think it's Kevin Smith, right? Because it's like Ben Affleck and Kevin Smith. It is Dogma. I always get Dogma and Saved mixed up. It's two different things. Here it is. This right here. You remember this? This is actually pretty accurate. Just like that Saturday Night Live skit making fun of the Novus Ordo that people have been talking about. I was watching when they played that. Like even Saturday Night Live can figure out this is off.
Church. They think of us as a passé, archaic institution.
The posters in the background. Catholicism. Wow.
People find the Bible obtuse, even hokey. Now, in an effort to disprove all that, the church has appointed this year as a time.
I'm just going to skip ahead because I don't want it to ding the copyright, but.
Campaign will unveil over the next year. I give you the Body Christ.
So there you go, right? You get the idea. Right. So yeah, it's like Jesus in my mind. I'll decide the type of Jesus I want. I want boyfriend Jesus. I want hippie Jesus. That's just like love everybody or whatever, man. Right? None of them at all are second person of the Godhead, triune dogma. By the way, if you want to support the stream, you can do so via the super chat function. If you are so inclined. There you go, right there. So, yeah, if you watch Dogma, it's very bizarre. It's got some really weird explicitly Gnostic elements in it. I'm not recommending necessarily that you watch it, but it is kind of poking fun at the Novus Ordo. Hey, Jamie, could you make me a double shot? Let's get back to Ruslan's arguments here and see what he says.
Now, you need to understand two words, Catholic and Orthodox. Catholic actually comes from the word universal. So what it really means is universal Christianity. Orthodox relates to following the correct beliefs. So if you're Orthodox, you think you're just doing things the right way according to tradition and law. Of course, no religious person is going to say, I'm following the wrong beliefs. And no person is going to say, my religion is not a universal truth. Otherwise, it's not really a religion. In this sense, the semantic sense, all Christians are Orthodox and Catholic. But that's
We're
not
all Catholic, Orthodox, Christian. Get it?
I love how Ruslan, just most of the videos that he watched, he just goes, He's hungry. He's ready to make that water cabbage soup that they eat over there and wherever he's from.
Off my back.
That's crazy.
All of us.
I'm a Catholic Orthodox Protestant.
I'm a Catholic Orthodox Protestant.
Who's that fabulous co-host that he's got? He's got a fabulous co-host. Who's this boy?
It's not really a religion.
Who's this boy?
Semantic sense, all Christians are Orthodox and Catholic. But that's
We're
not
all Catholic, Orthodox, Christian. Get off my...
What kind of low-tier nonsense is that people think this is convincing?
That's crazy.
What's convincing?
I'm a Catholic Orthodox Protestant.
I'm a Catholic Orthodox Protestant / trying to figure out whether I want to be in the praise and worship band or not, or whether or not I'm going to come out of the praise and worship band closet. Because, everybody in the praise and worship band is like in a closet. We're all just in there doing our little bongos and whatnot. Because then we got to come out of the closet. And can we still be in the praise and worship band and not? I don't know. We'll have to get some counseling.
I'm a Catholic Orthodox Protestant. Why y'all tripping? Let me have it. Right?
The Universal Church.
Now, I'm not a Roman Catholic,
I follow
but I've been to Rome,
Oh.
and I've been to the Vatican. It's a vibe.
And you're been to Rome and you're a man. So you're kind of Roman.
Roman.
Roman, Orthodox, Catholic.
Oh, his buddy's over there. You a man. You a man.
Protestant.
I think that Roman is a distinction. Roman Catholic is a distinction.
point of the show. Now we come to the big split, aka the East-West.
This is so low tier,
happened in
dude.
1054 and was the result of Eastern and Western Christianity often not getting along politically and having different opinions on how one should serve Christ.
Oh, it's mean. Oh, that's mean. I know. Yeah. Well, you don't have to watch this if this is mean.
One historian speaking.
But I mean, this is the level of argumentation that we're supposed to be. This is supposed to convince us that we can be a Protestant Orthodox Catholic.
Academic parlance described the reason for the split like this: the depths of intellectual alienation that had developed between the two.
Okay, so now people are just basically watching AI-produced videos to learn what religion is. This is never going to work. I'm sorry. I mean, if you're at the level where you're watching AI-produced videos to learn the difference between Orthodoxy and Catholicism, or to present this to your audience, is just... I mean, the dystopia is here, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, this is... I hesitate to use the word black pill, but... I mean, and I hate these graphics, like these cartoony corporate Memphis graphics that all these videos are. We're going into a corporate Memphis dystopia, dude, and it's all going to be giant thunder-thawed, ethnics in every one of the videos. And I'm surprised they even have faces, because usually the corporate Memphis is so dystopian that they don't even have faces for the people. But did he think this was like a good video? I guess everybody's just so dumb, literally, that this is where we're at. Like, we gotta have big, like, looking like a damn coloring book, right? You gotta have a kindergarten level coloring book presentation. Cartoon characters, literally. If it's not cartoon, why are we even having humans? We ought to just have a bunch of cartoon characters. Everything's just, we're going into a cartoon world. I was making jokes about this, and some damn nerd was, it's not technically corporate Memphis. I don't care. It sounds good to call it corporate Memphis, because corporate Memphis is freaking ghetto. And when you type in corporate Memphis, this is what comes up. That's not technically corporate Memphis. Yes, it is. Talk about, this is dystopia, dude. Nobody predicted that, and look, here we go with no faces. See right here? Classic corporate Memphis, no face. Giant thunder thighs, no breasts. So, androgyny. Here we go. No face except for glasses. Everybody's like a chunky office worker. I mean, look at this. This stuff is like straight out. This is out of the pits of hell, dude. This is some kind of MK Ultra psyop right here. Just the existence of this just crap. Look at that. And this is everywhere. Soulless. Yeah, exactly. And not just soulless, but faceless and identityless. Look, I'm an NPC doing yoga in my Coonpod. My Coonpod coffin apartment in the megacity. Anyway, so now I have to be subjected to corporate Memphis cartoon character descriptions of
sections of Christendom.
Everybody's at freaking kindergarten level. I mean, it's just... By the way, you want to support the stream? Do so via the super chat function right there. Super chats are done through Streamlabs over here. Yeah, it's erasing your identity. No personhood. Just like the masks cover your face, corporate Memphis basically makes you a faceless blob of, it looks like something that kindergartners are supposed to. Look at this. Kindergartners.
Their differences, and they broke up. Nowadays, the Eastern Orthodox Church is the second biggest church after the Roman Catholic Church. The Pope is not their leader. Instead, each different Orthodox church has a head bishop, who's elected by all the other bishops and...
Explore the rivers of Europe with Tout.
I thought this video was why he's neither Catholic or Orthodox. So, I mean, maybe he's going to get to that, but...
The Holy Senate.
Look, I don't need a cartoon presentation of the difference between the two.
One, though, in all Orthodox Christianity.
Maybe his audience does.
The Russian Holy Senate, the Greek Holy Senate, the Romanian Holy Senate, and more.
I don't like that they left out the Oriental Orthodox Church. That's a big chunk. That's Ethiopian, Armenian. I want to say Coptic. I want to say
a non-white one.
So he's from an Armenian Orthodox background. And he doesn't know the Oriental churches, and he doesn't like that that's left out. But like, well, they're not in communion, dude.
I want to say Assyrian. Yeah, so they're really just talking about the Eastern Orthodox, but there was a split way before this, 400 years before this. So there's been quite a few schisms. So it's interesting.
400 years before this. What's he talking about? 400 years before. I don't know which council he's talking about.
They all are like archbishops versus Catholics just have basically the Archbishop of Rome, who's...
The Archbishop of Rome. So basically has no idea what any of this stuff is. The Archbishop of Rome. Was the Bishop of Rome ever called the Archbishop? I don't even know if he's ever been called the Archbishop of Rome. Maybe in the first few centuries there would have, but...
The Pope, but there's multiple folks in the Eastern Orthodox.
Set the metaphorical throne and answers to no one. You also have the Patriarch of Constantinople on Orthodox Christianity, who is kind of the spiritual number one and the first among equals. But he's not like the Pope in that he doesn't hold sway over all the other patriarchs around the world. He still holds a lot of respect, but then Russia has its own spiritual top man in the Archbishop of Moscow. In matters of doctrine, the Roman Pope is said to be infallible, meaning he doesn't get anything wrong. The Orthodox Church disagrees, saying even its own leaders can make mistakes. Those leaders, by the way, are you...
Okay, well, the doctrine is not that he doesn't get anything wrong. I mean, to be fair, like, that's... Every Roman Catholic's going to have a spurg out, hissy fit. We don't believe that you can't get anything wrong.
Usually ordained monks before they become patriarch. Orthodox Christians are usually okay with priests being celibate or not being celibate, while Catholics don't allow priests to have intimate partners. Celibacy is not a big deal for most.
Oh, but they do. The problem is just that they need to put a beard on the other one, and then it's perfectly the standard Novus Ordo priestly relationship. See, people think that Roman Catholic priests are celibate. No, they're just not with women. Are they celibate? No, they're definitely not celibate. I think it's about 70% that are in committed and open polycule Skittles relationships, as well as young boy relationships too.
Orthodox churches. The difference is not really a great issue. A really big difference, and the reason for centuries.
By the way, the need to make priests celibate in the Catholic Church wasn't until the schism. It was about 1,000. Prior to that, Catholic priests could be married.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty much true. It's not 1,000 years in though. Rome started pushing that after the rejection of Trullo and their rejection of most of the actual teachings of the Seventh Council, even though they give lip service to the Seventh Council.
So it really made that jump from Catholic to Orthodox easier.
Mm-hmm.
They're like,
which one are you going to be?
Yeah, which one are you going to be?
Go ahead,
by the way.
The one I can have a wife.
Oh, by the way.
That's talking about the Holy Trinity, which is the Holy Spirit, the Father, and the Son. The disagreement over this has been called
the Holy Spirit, the Father, and the Son. I've never seen anyone dialogue or diagram the Trinity in this wacko ordering here. Like, what? What AI idiot? Like, who typed it? Like, Grok is a heretic, dude. No, not Grok. Chat GBT is a damn heretic. Look at this dumbass basic mistake of ordering. Now, does he not know this is silly?
Filioqua fricus, with filioqua relating to the Son.
Filioqua fricus. So this is an AI video that's just filioqua fricus. Filioque fracas?
The Great Breakup. You see, those guys in the East said it was the Father and the Father alone that was behind the whole...
So basically AI, I think, that we're getting off topic, but AI is basically here, I think, to just ruin the internet. But I don't think it's going to work because it's so garbage. It's so crappy. And, but they got a secret government AI that's like 1,000,000 times better that we don't know about, but I don't even know about it, but it must exist because I'm a conspiracy theorist. Is there really a super AI that the government? Maybe. But as far as we can tell, I mean, this AI is garbage, dude. Like, I asked it when they first rolled out ChatGPT like a year ago, and I asked it about me. It didn't have anything right. Like not one thing right about me. So I'm like, all right, this thing is worthless.
The Spirit and the Son wasn't so involved. They even said, if you think any different, you're a heretic. Swords were drawn, and they were never sheathed. Still today, the Son in the Orthodox Church won't play such a starring role in preceding the Holy Spirit. They say the Western Church shoehorned the Son.
That must be a Catholic church because I see two dudes.
Spirit and the Son
That's a Novus Ordo church for sure.
Swords were drawn, and they were never sheathed. Still today,
that's a Novus Ordo church for sure right there, because we got two men up there about to get blessed in a loving relationship.
Son in the Orthodox Church won't play such a starring role in preceding the Holy Spirit. They say the Western Church shoehorned the Son into things by itself, and that just wasn't right. They preferred what they think is the original version of events told by the first theologians, the Church Fathers. Still, both churches...
The first theologians
agree that there is a Father up in heaven and a Son that came down to...
What the heck is this? Why are they God the Father looking like Zeus? This is blasphemous.
And also a Holy Spirit that is everywhere. They just don't agree on the relationship they have. Okay, but why do they disagree?
Didn't Jesus say, I'm going to send a helper? Right? I thought Jesus said, I'm going to send...
doesn't emphasize the Son?
So it sounds like the Orthodox are saying, the Father alone sent the...
Okay, so it doesn't even know the difference between the economia and the eternal spiration.
The Spirit.
Not a surprise.
And the Catholics, which we Protestants come out of Catholicism, are saying that the Son is a part of sending the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
If you love me, keep my command.
Everybody believes that Jesus sends the Holy Spirit into time and space. That's called the economia. It was never even a part of the debate. Only low-tier people think that this debate is solved by the economia. It's the eternal, personal, triadic relations and the hypostatic origin that is in question. And the Son does not play a role in the eternal, existential, personal origin of the person of the Spirit. The Father alone is the source. He's the sole fountain arche, as the Cappadocians teach.
And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to help you and be with you forever. That's interesting. The Spirit of truth, the world can...
Okay, so he thinks that this is again, we're going to skip this, super low tier.
Now you'll see.
I mean, remember when Matt Fradd did a stream and he basically did the exact same thing? Like, didn't even know what the debate is. Just like, well, Jesus sends the Spirit. Not even realizing that has nothing to do with the debate.
See how each club has different ways of doing things, not just thinking things. You're likely wondering what this seemingly intractable rupture means today. If you mention the Son preceding the Holy Spirit in, say, Russia or Bulgaria, are you liable to find yourself in a punch-up? We doubt it. But both sides do argue over certain things. For instance, you might have seen Catholics making...
I'm something of a magician.
This video is as low tier as his commentary, so I'm sorry to say.
Cross on themselves, such as soccer players before they take a penalty kick, or mobsters when they're just narrowly escaped a whacking. You'll notice that they hear the old school thought and methods. The Orthodox Church says it's preserved traditions etched in stone. It pays more attention, or most people do, to rituals. If you're going to try and preserve traditions, then you really have to be strict about your rituals.
Orthodox, more conservative.
Religion is by its very nature conservative, but one of the bigger differences is the Orthodox Church is usually more conservative than the Catholic Church.
Hey, Jamie? Did you make me that coffee?
Imagine the Catholic, like from
the... here we go. Now we're talking about straight up Francis doxy right here. We're getting into the... Ruslan's co-host is over there getting excited. I'm about to go Roman Catholic. This is right up my alley.
Perspective.
He chimed in, didn't he? He's over there chiming. Ooh, this like what this is about where I'm about to go right here.
Church being the more...
I think I'm about to enter RCI gay.
New school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I became a Protestant, I asked my Armenian Apostolic Dyer, and he said, the Word of God and the tradition of the Church. You got to maintain those two. You know, so they really view that as a huge important thing. Go ahead.
Example, we looked at Pew Research studies on Orthodox feelings about homosexuality and same-sex marriage. In the majority of countries that are home to mostly Orthodox Christians, the vast majority of people were against both. Greece was the only country where a quite large but not very large percentage of people said homosexuality should be accepted by society.
Bunch of gay Greeks.
The Catholic Church also calls homosexuality a sin, but there are still progressive elements within the church, more so than the Orthodox Church. Just to give you an idea of how a certain church might think, one person wrote to a Greek Orthodox church in the U.S. His question was, I am powerfully drawn to the Orthodox Church, but I'm gay. He asked if he could still join. The answer was kind of yes, with some caveats, such as this. A repentant, struggling homosexual who refrains from homosexual acts can be received into the church after the usual course of instruction, but he or she would do their best to keep this matter in the confessional, just as is common with every other sin. Of course, some people are different. We like this response we found on another website when someone asked which church was more conservative, politically.
Wait, why is there a Soviet star, the black son of the tiny mustache man, and a dove? What the heck is this?
Orthodox and Catholic Christians are both all over the map. You'll find Orthodox communists and Orthodox neo-fascists, but also Orthodox peaceniks and the like. Same goes for Catholics. Still, some things just different and they'll always be. Take Easter, for example, which for many people will be how this deceased American comedian explained it. Commemorating the death and resurrection of Jesus by telling our children a giant bunny rabbit left chocolate eggs at night. He was actually...
Is that some lame-ass boomer Carlin joke? A deceased American comedian?
Orthodox neo-fascists, but also Orthodox peaceniks and the like. Same goes for Catholics. Still, some things just different and they'll always be. Take Easter, for example, which for many people will be how this deceased American comedian explained it. Commemorating the death and resurrection of Jesus by telling our children a giant bunny rabbit left chocolate eggs at night. He was actually referring to Catholics or Protestants and not members of the Orthodox Church. They're dead serious when it comes to the resurrection. In both churches, Easter can fall on different days of the year, but the days will still be different for both churches.
I'm glad that he shook his head right to let us know that there's a calendar difference between East and West. Because if he hadn't said yes and shook his head right, I might have not believed the AI preaching at me.
Because of a man named Pope Gregory XIII. In 1582, he made a change to the calendar, and that's why when you look at your phone, you're looking at the Gregorian calendar. The Orthodox Church bases the days of Easter on the Julian calendar, which relates to Julius Caesar. Again, they're sticking with tradition since Julian calendar preceded the Gregorian calendar. They're also a lot stricter about Easter. They start fasting on Clean Monday and do it for 40 days until it ends on Lazarus Saturday, 8 days before Easter. This fasting period is called the Great Lent. When that's over, they might chow down on roasted lamb.
He's looking at that corporate Memphis cupcake and he's getting hungry. He's going, I want me a corporate Memphis cupcake with a corporate Memphis thick THICC woman presenting it to me. I want a thick corporate Memphis office worker to present me a thick corporate Memphis cupcake, and I'm like,
More traditional soups and cakes, but not so much on the sickly sweet Cadbury cream eggs that were hidden in pairs.
He's over there like, I need to go back to my Orthodox tradition so I can get some of that cabbage water soup that I grew up with.
fasting part for Orthodox Christians is a huge deal, since it relates to important matters such as purification, enlightening yourself, and liberating yourself from sin. In short, it shows a certain amount of dedication. Catholics may fast too, but only on Ash Wednesday, Good Friday, and other Friday.
Okay, I thought this had to do with why he wasn't Catholic or Orthodox. Is Protestant reacts to an AI garbage corporate Memphis video. Okay, so I hope we get some kind of argumentation. Like,
the truth is,
I guess it's just a reaction video. Jamie and I watch a bunch of reaction videos. Black people are funny in reaction videos. They're addictive to watch. Because every time they watch some rock band or some white music act that they haven't heard, and they're like, oh. Dang. That's like every reaction video right there.
Fasting rules.
By the way, you're getting a meta experience today. You're getting my reaction to his reaction to the video. That's meta. And then somebody could do a reaction to my reaction to his reaction.
As a matter of fact, members of the Orthodox Church are supposed to fast every Wednesday and Friday throughout the year, and many will take this seriously. Catholics should also fast every Friday, but many or most.
Somebody said I should make AI videos. I'm about to blow your mind. Every video I made was an AI video. You never actually met me or saw me. I never made a real video, dude. This video does suck. I'm sorry.
As for what
every Friday? Catholics are fast every Friday, bro?
You know they're not doing that.
Catholics, where y'all at, man?
Listen,
they're not infallible. Like,
taking a hit for our sins, which is a bit depressing in a way, the Orthodox folks see it as Jesus kicking some butt.
So the fun thing with the serpent is...
How does the serpent talk? This guy. So tired of
that.
I thought we were past the era of that ad, and it's still here.
It's hard. Like a small difference, but it's not when it comes to celebration. For the Orthodox Church, Easter is like celebrating D-Day, but for the Catholics, it's more like shamefully looking up and saying, "Thanks, dude, for having my back." There are some other differences, big and small. A small one might be that people of the Orthodox Church are more likely to stand up while praying. It's not demanded by any means, but it happens more. Again, it's down to the interpretation of God's word and reverence to God. That is not a big deal, but what is a serious matter?
Okay, so I'm gonna skip past all this garbage and see if he actually.
If I had to choose, I think the Orthodox is more consistent. If you're going to prioritize tradition, stick to the tradition. You didn't change tradition every couple hundred years.
All right, well, I agree with this.
You can't be like, priests can't have wives. Priests can't have wives. No, they can't. There's a respect amongst...
All right, I'll give him that one. He did pretty good there. That was towards the end. So I agree with him on that final point there. Let's see, what's next? Oh, we got an update on this right here. If you didn't hear, our boy Tim recently did a stream, and this is very prophetic because we just did the stream with Father Deacon Patrick, and Father Deacon Patrick and I were talking about the push for deaconesses, and that this is pushed by NGOs, think tanks, foundations, big money. And it's pushed through academia. It's pushed through private financing of seminaries and so forth. It's pushed through the Phoebe Center and all of that in Orthodoxy. And I was talking to Tim, and I said, look, it's the same in your domain. The push, the strategies are going to be identical. And boom, what do you know? Francis is now talking about, in the recent synod discussions, the deaconess. What do you know? It just happens to be the same push, the same time in the Orthodox world and in the Roman Catholic world, which is exactly what we were saying would happen and what Tim as well said.
Yo, parish orphans and retrogrades. Happy Friday. Happy Ides of March. On March 15th, the Ides of March. Or remember your Shakespeare. Julius Caesar was warned, remember the Ides of March, this famous day in the life of the Roman Empire. Well, remember the Ides of March. Today we come to you with some more ill news from Rome, this time the Catholic, not the secular Roman Empire.
I just realized Tim is also a tooth bro. Tim's got a rebel tooth on the bottom row as well. So we're brothers in rebel chiefs as well. So there we go. Even more based than I expected.
New Synod documents for October of 2024 are revealed. And what do they reveal? Discussion themes for study groups formed by Pope Francis. This new document, according to LifeSite News, from the Synod on Synodality, leaders outlined study groups to explore key Synod themes and what they said to do. To be a synodal church in mission is to discuss the serious possibility of female deacons. We knew where this was going. This broke yesterday.
And I mean, imagine still being a Roman Catholic and trying to like imagine this we need to have Olympic medals for the mental gymnastics Olympics. And by the way, we could combine it with the Special Olympics too for the Roman Catholics. And they can win both categories at the same damn time.
On the 14th of March. They're doing all this for a reason. They're not just getting everyone together to discuss. They'll like make new friends. The real synod on synodality is the friends they made along the way, right? Wrong. They're getting all of these dames together to change the church through even more revolutionary feminist activity.
I gotta get the dames and the broads together. Gotta get the dames and the broads. We gotta change the church doctrine. Get the dames and the broads. But the dames gotta have gams.
It's funny because you can argue with other right-minded people about what's the real danger in the church since middle 1900s. And everyone's got sort of within some operative paradigm, some operative set of conceptually boundaries, they've got kind of their own answer. I think it's feminism in the church and in the world. That's what's unique about my answer. And
yeah, this is pretty much right. Everything is feminized. Everything. And the conversion of the church to all of this stuff requires the feminization of all the leadership, which is largely accomplished. And it's no different in the Orthodox world either. Tons of cowardly, feminized, effeminate clerics as well. Not everybody, but many of them, especially in America.
The whole church became feminized. Church life, parish school life, and the home place all became overrun by bossy, shrill women, even though we live under the bifurcated, two-headed patriarchy of clerics and household priests, clerical and lay. That's all been overrun, man. That's what I say. And I don't know how people that disagree with me push back. They never debate the claims made, but they'll say things like, well, Pope Francis didn't yet reify female deacons. He's supposed to do that back in 2019. Yeah, well, I agree. But it's definitely what the point of the Synod on Synodality is, one of the many points. And I've told you this is already basically a done deal. Now, if you'll recall, October...
So, anyway, you can go watch the rest of Tim's video. I'll put it right here for you. But, look, the main point here is that you can see my toes? How you see my toes, dude? Are you saying you can see them or you want to see them? People who would like to see my toes. By the way, I didn't know this is a dirty thing. So, by the way, if you do want to see my toes, I guarantee it will not be a dirty thing. Because I got grandpa toenails. Like, they're all just scraggly and look like razor's edge, look like buzzsaws on the edge of my feet. I mean, I cut myself getting out of rolling around the covers with my own toenails. So, do you really want to see my toenails? Because that is not going to be erotic. That's going to be... I was trying to think of something that rhymes with erotic, but it's not erotic. That's going to be... I don't know. Non-erotic. How's that? That's going to be a sobering effect. Right? If you get tempted with lust, I'll show you my toenails. You'll sober up. You don't need a cold shower. You need a glance at my nub razors. Because toes are nubs, I guess. Kind of, aren't they? I got nub saws. Not a buzz saw. I got 5 little tiny nub saws on the edge of my feet. By the way, I did just clip them the other night. Anyway, so there you go. Everything we said, it happened. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Bobby. Oh man, maybe we'll just, because this is a bunch of Islam stuff, so maybe we'll save this for another video. But I wanted to remind you too that, look, Francis trying to slide in the next phase of the revolution in his sect is not surprising, not just because of the moral issues. It's amazing to me that very few Catholics are catching on to the already mind-blowing, scandalous religious errors that have already been made, which are far more obvious and egregious than the ambiguity in a lot of his talks and his speeches. Now, I'm not saying that the talks and the speeches are not scandalous, but it's almost like it doesn't matter how many scandals occur. It never works for most of these people to demonstrate the impossibility and the contradictory nature of the system. For example, praying in a mosque towards Mecca alone, that alone, should be enough to identify the entire apparatus of the Vatican to be fraudulent. And why do I say that? Because the typical response here from the Roman Catholic, trad or not, whatever, is going to be his personal actions, his personal sins, personal failures have nothing to do with the dogmas of the church and the maintenance of the office of Peter. That's not true, because certain actions convey the faith of a person. Public acts in Roman Catholic canon law and moral theology convey the inner state. For example, is procuring an abortion, is that a dogmatic error? No. However, what's the penalty in Roman Catholic canon law for procuring an abortion? Is it merely a mortal sin? Do Roman Catholics even know the penalty for that? I learned it when I was going through RCIA in the Roman world. RCI gay. The answer is excommunication, if you didn't know. So even in their own moral theology and canon law, it's not the case that some sins might be mortal and venial and then that's it. No. Other sins which cause a defection from the faith or are excommunicatable offenses late sententiae put you outside the church by the action itself. This includes actions of public reverence or acknowledging of false religions. So to pray in a mosque towards Mecca is a public display of an inner apostasy. For example, Aquinas in the Summa, it is one of the objections, however the principle is still true, gives the example of if anyone were to pray at the tomb of Muhammad, to reverence Muhammad, that would be an action of apostasy. Even in the Middle Ages they knew this, right? So this is not some post-Tridentine developed thing. Yet Pope Francis goes and prays in mosques towards Mecca, giving the impression of indifferentism, violating the very things laid down in Mortalium Animos of Pius XI, defining what apostasy and indifferentism are. When Francis does the very thing that encyclical defines as apostasy, every Roman Catholic in the world goes into mental gymnastics overdrive to explain that it's not apostasy, and then to lie and give all this cope and all this cope maxing that there's no such thing as a public action that is apostasy. So you could sacrifice infants in giant inverted pentagram Temple of Set rituals in St. Peter's Square. The Pope's out there officiating it. Oh, it still doesn't, he's still not an apostate. This is the absurdity of this ridiculous system. And although this has a lot more religiosity and a lot of imagery and a lot of statues, which by the way is going away because they're becoming Protestant churches, which gives a lot of people the impression that this is in continuity with some ancient organization. And by the way, 99.9% of those people have no knowledge at all of anything to do with all the intelligence agency stuff. So we'll set all that aside for, I mean, that alone is devastating to this whole thing. Paul Williams' Gladio book is devastating. I mean, Paul Williams himself says that when he wrote that book, it pretty much, I think, he said it destroyed his faith in Roman Catholicism, studying and writing that book. But what I'm getting at here is that if people knew their theology and their position, this alone would have been enough to tell them that this doesn't add up. And why is it that every Roman Catholic apologist goes into overdrive to explain away the obvious? The obvious is that this is a tool of geopolitics. This is a compromised, captured institution. And if the Orthodox Church was all built on one dude, I would agree. Okay, if it's built on Bartholomew, it's captured too. Sure. Because he's a subservient to the U.S. State Department. Everybody knows it. Now, why can we not just simply admit the obvious? That praying in a mosque towards Mecca is a surrendering of the Christian religion. Well, it could be that many of these people aren't actually learning the Christian religion. They're not learning the Ten Commandments, that you can't worship and give obeisance to blasphemous antichrist groups and sects and churches. And Islam is antichrist. I don't know if you're ignorant of this. If you don't know this, John says if you don't confess Christ as God in the flesh, you are of spirit of antichrist. Islam is antichrist, 100%. It's all, the whole foundation of it is rejecting the Trinity and the deity of Christ. So how in the world could the head pastor, a teacher, the representative of all Christianity, pray in a mosque towards Mecca? And every Roman Catholic that excuses this is just simply lying to themselves. There is no excuse for this.
Walking into Sultan Ahmed Mosque, Pope Francis did as millions of visitors before him have done. He paused to take in one of the greatest masterpieces of Ottoman architecture. Guided through the mosque by Istanbul's Grand Mufti, this was the Pope concentrating more on religious affairs on the second day of his visit to Turkey. Both men stopped to pray towards Mecca.
There you go. This is not a conspiracy site. This is just mainstream news.
Was for the Pope a moment of silent adoration, according to the Vatican. Presenting the Pope with a gift of a blue tile, the Mufti, Rahmi Yaran, told the Pontiff, "We are in need of prayers. The world really needs prayers."
Now, this is the basis for the Abu Dhabi Faith Center. The idea that we all pray and worship the same God. It's the basis of Trent's natural theology argumentation. All the natural theology argumentation that we've heard these people blather about over and over and over is the basis for this giant complex here. With their weird Transformers energy cubes that they bring out. Here they come with their energy cubes, right? The three monotheistic faiths. Okay, if you don't have the Trinity, you're not monotheistic. Because monotheism is God the Father, and Jesus says that no one comes to the Father except through the Son. So you can either believe that, or you're not in this religion anymore. You're at a different religion. And the Roman Catholic system of we all worship the lowest common denominator, little g generic God, is this. This is the logical outcome of Nostra Aetate, Vatican II's world religion document. It's this. So yeah, I lift it up to, all right, Nathaniel Witwicky and the energy cubes of oblivion. Right, they're offering it up to Optimus Prime here, not God. Okay, you could go worship Bumblebee and Megatron and Optimus Prime. I'm trying to remember how Optimus Prime talk. Doesn't he talk like Cobra Commander? Not Optimus Prime, freaking Megatron. How's Megatron talk? So Roman Catholics are just worshiping Megatron, or more like Metatron. Some Kabbalistic stuff, right? This dude is Megatron? Megatron. No, Megatron. I just thought of a funny skit idea. I want to see if I can do his voice, because I'm trying to remember how he talks. Dude, I thought he was, when I was a kid, dude, that he was the coolest thing in the world. Like, Optimus Prime was all right. I was like, yeah, Optimus Prime's kind of weak, dude. But Megatron, dude, this guy was.
How ironic! By leading us to this planet, the Autobots have sealed their own doom.
He got a lot of rasp going on. Megatron he was smoking too many Virginia Slims up there on planet Transformer, wherever they're from. Somebody get that man a Vicks vapor rub or something. Get him a cough drop. I got some of my cough drops over here. Give one to Megatron. Anyway, that's what they're worshiping over here. They're not worshiping the triad like Abraham in every Orthodox icon. Every Orthodox person knows that Abraham worshipped the triad. Right, they're over here worshiping frickin' Transformers, energy cubes. And for those of you that don't know, the Abrahamic Faith Center is based on Pope Francis's deal that he had with, or his document he signed with the Grand Imam. And by the way, how come nobody else out there, very few people, except for some of the Russia analyst people, have talked about the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem being British intelligence? And the long history of British intelligence and the Muslim Brotherhood. Nobody ever talks about this anymore. It used to be talked about all the time when, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, when that was in the news all the time. Right? People in alternative media were going super deep into all that research, getting deep into the background of Muslim Brotherhood and British intelligence and T.E. Lawrence. And nobody remembers or thinks about this anymore. And by the way, nobody thinks this might be relevant to the world religion, the push for the world religion. I mean, now when I see Francis and some Turkish imam walking around, I'm not sitting here thinking about dogmas and heresies. I mean, I've thought about that for 20 years. What I'm thinking about is, okay, is this some CIA guy? Like, is this the Turkish imam? Like, is he a CIA? Probably. Compromised how, right? So let's get to a little bit of this video, which some of our friends and compatriots in the Roman world have appeared in. This video is becoming popular. I think it's a 3-part series. This is the trad cats and the neo-trads and the pseudo-trads and the kind of trads and the not-so-trads all together, I guess, putting a documentary out called Mass of the Ages. And somebody said, hey, watch the last third of it. And because now they're trying to... They're mad at Francis because they want the Latin Mass. And Francis is like, nah, it's time to stamp that stuff out. We're going full clown mass. We're going full hip-hop Novus Ordo. None of this Latin stuff.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I was able to obtain the last section, which was a collection of quotations from the bishops around the world that would have been representative of what the bishops had said as a whole.
Okay, so Now we're going to get into some kind of like journalistic, like intelligence conspiracy leaked documents operation that, like if Francis had seen like the real documents about the real numbers and stats of the Latin Mass, but maybe the Holy Father wouldn't have banned and suppressed the Latin Mass. If we could just get the leak to Francis, because like maybe he's surrounded by people giving him bad information and all this nonsense.
People who support the extraordinary form do so with ideological presuppositions. This is true of some members of
just American bishop. All right, let's get past this. Yikes, who's this guy?
By all accounts, the vast majority of responses were very positive. Bishops are seeing...
Look at this guy. Like, I don't know who this is, don't know anything about this guy, but this guy just has the face and the look of a person who, if you mention my name to him, he would explain to you, he's a bad actor, right? I just immediately can see the spirit of this dude, like, would absolutely despise. Like, he would, like when they asked Dale Tuggy about me the other day, and he's like, It is not what I would do. It says I, if I see him, it is I who says. Like, he's like jumbled up his words, and he says some weird phrase, and I'm like, it rubs the lotion on its skin.
Church is burgeoning, overflowing with young families, with many kids who are joyfully faithful to the magisterium.
No, that's not the Novus Ordo. He's talking about the Latin Mass, right?
Many bishops are very positive. I've heard that from everyone who's seen the report. I've talked to people in the Holy See who've seen the report. The bad things...
Here we go. Ex-Orthodox Tim Flanders, who let us all know that he would never speak to anybody in our spheres because of his immense humility and the tremendous humility that he gained by becoming a subservient papist is something that we could never understand.
Majority of them did nothing or dispensed with it.
Okay, so wait a minute. So the majority of the people who got the order from Pope Francis to get rid of the Latin Mass or suppress it ignored it. But does Auctorem Fidei, which is Roman Catholic dogma, does it give individual Roman Catholics the right to reject the rites, R-I-T-E, of the Vatican? When the Roman See promulgates a rite, R-I-T-E, for the whole church, you have no right, R-I-G-H-T, to reject that rite. And when you do so, it is the argument of the Jansenists condemned in the document Auctorem Fidei. But I'll bet you money that Flanders and these people haven't even read Auctorem Fidei. This emotional music is like, oh yeah, look at the emotional music means we're gonna win. We're gonna win. We're gonna stop Francis suppressing the Latin Mass. Have you read Vatican I? I mean, what are you talking about?
It's going to have to be repaired. That was based, let's be frank about this, on false polling of the bishops of the world. The bishops of the world were not demanding a restriction of the Latin Mass. Most of them didn't respond.
Okay, but it doesn't matter how many bishops are polled to see if they reject the Latin Mass. Again, have you read Vatican I? The unilateral actions of the Roman See require absolutely zero support from the bishops of the world. That might not be popular, but it is not required. And Vatican I explicitly says that. All of these people do not operate according to what Vatican I actually says. They act like they're Orthodox, and they want to hedge off Francis from all this madness, which I applaud them for doing it. It's the only sensible way to approach this. But it's not what Vatican I says. So either you throw out Vatican I, and, well, basically you just have to give up Vatican I, and that means Roman Catholicism is not true. So now Trent's going to tell us the
Christ
office of Peter.
promised that the gates of hell would not prevail against the church.
So yeah, McKees. The only thing they ever have is McKees. It's like the Bible's really just Matthew 16. I mean, do you need anything else in the Roman Catholic world? You just get, basically, I mean, go to the Latin Mass and read your breviary and all that. You don't even need the Bible. Because really, it's only, you just have a printout of Matthew 16. That's all you really need in this religion.
And so we speak about things like the indefectibility of the church.
Really? I'm glad that Trent is now using the terminology, the language of indefectibility, because that's more clear in demonstrating the mistakes than infallibility. Because when you mention infallibility, you go into this infinite spiral of how everything is and is not infallible when the Roman Catholic in question needs it to be, as we all know, which we've called out 1,000 times. So I'm glad to see Trent now actually having to shift to indefectibility, that the Roman See cannot defect in its person or its teaching. Now, you'll say, wait a minute, haven't Roman Catholics debated whether a pope could be a heretic? What do you mean that an individual pope can't defect? Now, it's true. If you go up to the point of Bellarmine has long discussions of the possibility of a heretic pope and how he would be formally, materially, whatever, removed or not removed, whatever. That has nothing to do with Vatican I. Bellarmine's discussions are prior to the decisions of Vatican I. Just like Our Lady of La Salette and the revelations of Rome's apostasy, supposedly, to Our Lady of La Salette, those revelations, those are all prior to Vatican I. So Vatican I settles the previous discussions and disputes in the Roman Catholic system, if you believe it and you're consistent. Because now you cannot have the Roman See defecting. The Roman See is also embodied in the successor. It's not just an ethereal chair in the air, the Platonic seat of the Pope, the Nestorian ecclesiological chair of Peter in the sky, and I'm going to ignore the guy over in Rome. They're intimately connected in the Roman Catholic system. The living successor is the embodiment of Christ on earth, the vicar on earth. It's not just an ethereal chair that you're in union with. And since that's the case, where can you argue that the Pope can defect? And you'll notice that Trent is basically saying here, let's remember, even though you might be tempted to think that Rome has defected, given all this nonsense, which is obvious, just remember, he can't defect. This is what they do. It's like, even though everything in your visual apparatus, all the evidence shows you defection, just reaffirm like a mantra in your head, he cannot defect, he cannot defect, he cannot defect, he cannot defect, he cannot defect. That's how this works.
And we follow what the church teaches. It will not lead us away from Jesus Christ. It will not lead us into error. It will not lead us into sin.
Oh, really? So blessing of the unions that Francis promotes now is not leading us into error or sin? Or is it? I'll let you be the judge. Jamie's going to do her show. I'm going to get off of here. Guys, if you want to, go and follow Jamie. We might do more of this documentary later, but it just seems to be the same old stuff. Guy says for $1, Protestants prod me. Where do we see anyone praying to saints in the Bible? Revelation 5-8. In those chapters, we see the saints in heaven responding to prayers and intercessory requests of the saints on earth. Slow boy, the slowest boy, $1. Can you stub your nub in heaven? He said stub your toe. No, you can stub your nub in heaven, though. Storm the cat, stub nub. $3. Do you like polar bears? I have no opinion on polar bears. I am agnostic on them. In fact, they might not even be real. Just joking. John Vandershoot, $5. Ruslan goes, The Ruslan go, Kristen, $5. The guy wants to learn at the same time as produce content and teach others. Many cases. Why read alone when you can read to a crowd for money? Yeah, exactly. It's like we're going to just play AI videos and just sit here and react to them by going, Sleeper, $10. Can you be a fundamentalist orthodox at the same time? Well, again, fundamentalism classically means the 5 basic doctrines of Christianity in the sense of virgin birth, Trinity, deity of Christ, etc. So if you believe in 5 basics of Christianity, you're a fundamentalist. But sometimes people, what they mean by that is weird, like premillennial dispensational exegesis, a fundamentalist, unquote reading of the book of Revelation where there's no symbolism and everything's literal or some sort of nonsense like this, that's oftentimes what people are referring to. So that's a hermeneutical issue. That is not a fundamentals of the faith issue. Two different things. Checkmate sends $10. Thank you so much. Blue Skittle, $5. What is the serpent crawling in the belly? We'll continue until learning why improves. Thank you, Blue Skittle. Yeah, we're forever going to have that ad. We'll never end. Bon Jovi wins the day with $50 super chat. Thank you so much. I've been going through a lot of your videos that you did back in the day. I'm acquiring many gold nuggets. Thank you for the gold nuggets. Guys, don't forget, there's treasure troves in the archives. We have like 1,000, 1,200 videos. And my videos are not typically topical current events. Every now and then they are. But my videos were always intended to be evergreen. So make use of the archives. By the way, most of the questions that people have, and I'm not saying I have a problem answering your questions, but like when we get the call-ins, there are questions that we've answered probably 50 to 100 times on live streams. Living to Become Love, $6.57. Could the Reformation have been divine providence to save the world from the papacy? I mean, everything is under divine providence, but what were the designs in terms of permitting the Reformation in God's mind? I don't know. Ultimately, hopefully, we would think that it would be moving back towards orthodoxy. So maybe in Rome and in the Protestant world, both sides realize, hey, we're flip sides of the same coin. Is there any other options? Orthodoxy is all that's left. The Reformation meant that papacy lost a lot of power, and Protestants are oftentimes turning to orthodoxy. Many of them are. So maybe in God's providence it will turn out that way. We should pray it would be that way. Evgenia, $5. Thank you so much, guys. Head on over to Jamie's channel. She's about to go live here in about the next 10 or 15 minutes on her channel discussing Disney and propaganda and war films. A lot of people don't know that Disney promoted war films, and they did. I want to remind you, too, though, support the show. Go get the books. And check this out. If you don't know, then now you're going to know about this.
I'm going to put you on something crazy real quick. Most of these Zoomer gym bros are consuming macro-guzzling synthetic dyes and synthetic sweeteners on the daily. They don't even know it. Goofy AF. There's nothing great about that. Do not listen any further unless you are an alpha or sigma male. This is important and there could be consequences. There's a new certified sigma male pre-workout powder for sigmas only. It is guaranteed to empower you to dominate your co-workers, fire your boss, aggressively gamble, or invade a small village. Chad Mode stands out from the crowd by excluding artificial flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, and dyes. We've even avoided so-called natural flavors, which are actually not natural at all, ensuring a clean and effective formula. Experience the pure goodness of Chad Mode, colored with organic blue spirulina extract, organic lemon, cherry, and organic maple crystals. Forget synthetic caffeine made in a sketchy Chinese lab. Embrace the natural power of organic green coffee bean extract, which will get your mind going and pump you up to the max. Chad Mode is made in America with all clean ingredients, the first clean pre-workout of its kind. Why are these people adding synthetic sweeteners to every single pre-workout when there are many studied downsides to consuming nasty fake sucralose? Each dose of Chad Mode contains the kick of a cup and a half of coffee, delivering a surge of energy alongside essential vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and herbal extracts. Chad Mode will allow you to fire your boss and